Fear. That was the first thing that filled the chamber. Not from humans, no, they stood tall, but from everyone else. Thousands of alien eyes watched in silence as the verdict was read aloud, the sound echoing across the colossal crystalline hall of the Galactic Council. You are hereby exiled from the United Systems. The voice came from Chancellor Veer, a six-eyed being of translucent skin and glimmering veins of light. His tone was neither cruel nor kind. It was final, like a judge sealing a tomb. Across the hall, Captain Elias Ward clenched his fists. His face was carved from quiet rage and disbelief. Humanity had built half the ships that filled this chamber, fought beside these species against the Void Plague, and bled for peace among the stars. And this was their reward? Beside him stood Dr. Amina Sol, her eyes wet but burning bright. They fear us, she whispered. Elias didn't look at her. They should. A murmur rippled through the alien delegates, fear, disdain, perhaps even guilt. Veer continued, his voice amplified by the hall's resonance fields. Humanity's unpredictable aggression, your refusal to submit to the Council's behavioral treaties, and your unauthorized colonization of restricted worlds cannot be tolerated. You are to withdraw from all shared systems within one solar cycle. Failure to comply will result in military enforcement. The words struck like iron. Elias stepped forward. You call us dangerous. You call us reckless. But when your fleets burned under the swarm, who came to save you? His voice carried deep and unwavering. When the Ethran suns went dark, whose engineers reignited them? When your colony starved, who fed them? The silence after his words was suffocating. Veer's luminous gaze flickered. We acknowledge your contributions, but your nature, your defiance, is incompatible with peace. Peace? Elias spat. You mistake peace for obedience. A warning tone hummed through the chamber. The Council's sentinels, a fleet of hovering obsidian drones, angled their weapons toward him. Amina's hand brushed his arm. Eli, not here. He exhaled slowly, forcing calm. Then know this, he said, voice quieter now but sharp as a blade. You're not exiling humanity. You're freeing us. And with that he turned and walked away. The echo of his boots faded beneath the vast dome as 1,000 alien voices erupted in debate. Later, aboard the human flagship Dauntless, the mood was heavy. The vast window of the command deck framed the glowing swirl of the Council's homeworld, Seraphel Prime, a jeweled world of order and symmetry, now forever forbidden to them. Elias stood at the viewport silent. Behind him, Admiral Rhea Kale entered, her presence a storm held barely in check. It's official, she said. They've revoked our access codes. All trade, all defense treaties terminated. We're alone out here. Alone, Elias repeated softly. That word never scared us before. Rhea frowned. It should now. We have 1 year to pull every human settlement out of shared space. After that, the Sentinels will come. Amina joined them, a datapad clutched to her chest. Not just the Sentinels. I intercepted chatter. They're considering preemptive strikes. To ensure compliance, the words hung heavy. Humanity had no seat, no allies, no protection. The void stretched before them, cold, vast, and filled with enemies who once called them friends. Elias turned, his eyes dark with thought. Then we build something they can't control, something they'll never expect. Rhea folded her arms. We don't have the ships, the supplies, or the time. Then we make them, he said simply. Amina looked between them. Where? He smiled faintly. Beyond their borders, past the dead zones where their maps end. He tapped the viewport where stars shimmered like distant fires. That's where humanity was born, on the edge of chaos. Maybe that's where we belong. A low rumble of distant thunder rolled across the ship's hull, energy storms brushing the outer shields. The Dauntless trembled as if the universe itself held its breath. Amina's voice trembled softly. And if we fail? Elias turned toward her. His voice, quiet yet resolute, cut through the storm. Then the stars will remember that we tried. In the dark, beyond the Council's sight, human ships began to vanish one by one, slipping silently past borders, carrying families, soldiers, and dreamers into the unknown. The exile had begun, but so had something else, something the galaxy did not yet understand. Not a retreat, an awakening. The stars beyond the Council's maps were different. They burned colder, stranger, some pulsing like wounded hearts, others flickering out as if afraid to be seen. It was here in the silent gulf known only in forbidden charts as dawn space that humanity vanished. The Dauntless drifted through a graveyard of failed worlds, frozen orbs, shattered moons, and the ghostly remains of alien stations swallowed by time. Within its steel walls, thousands of exiled humans worked, slept, and dreamed under artificial suns. The hum of the engines was their new heartbeat. Captain Elias Ward stood on the observation deck, watching a planet slowly rise over the ship's bow. It was beautiful in a way that hurt to look at, half cloaked in silver storms, half lit by twin suns that bled gold and crimson through the mist. Rhea Kale joined him, her reflection stern in the glass. Scanners show oxygen, water, even carbon signatures. But there's something strange in the magnetosphere. It's alive. Elias's eyes narrowed. Alive? Self-regulating. The readings fluctuate like a heartbeat. He watched the planet's horizon twist with lightning veins. Then maybe it's a place that chooses who gets to stay. Behind them, the doors hissed open and Amina Sol rushed in, datapad in hand. Eli, we've got a bigger problem. Half the fleet's reactors are running low. We can't keep moving much longer. Then we make this world home, Elias said simply. Rhea frowned. We don't even know if we can land. Since when did that stop us? His voice softened, but his eyes were sharp with something fierce, hope dressed as defiance. We've been told where we can live for centuries. It's time we choose for ourselves. When the Dauntless descended, it was as though the heavens themselves protested. Storms raged against the hull. Magnetic fields twisted sensors, and the clouds tore apart like veils of liquid silver. Through them, the surface of the planet shimmered. Vast plains of luminous stone, rivers that glowed faintly with energy, and colossal spires of crystal rising from the horizon like ancient guardians. The humans named it Erevos, the first world of their exile. Within hours, landing crews deployed shelters, engineers mapped terrain, and scientists raced to study the strange ecosystem. The air was sweet and metallic, the sky a constant swirl of violet and pale gold. It was alien, and yet it felt right. Rhea oversaw the first outpost, a cluster of domes and generators nestled between crystalline ridges. This could work, she murmured. It's not Earth, but it breathes. Amina, scanning the air, frowned. It's more than that. There's a resonance here. The planet hums at the same frequency as human neural patterns. It's responding to us. Elias knelt, touching the glowing ground. A warmth pulsed under his palm as though the world itself acknowledged him. Maybe it knows we don't belong anywhere else. Days turned to weeks. Erevos proved both cruel and kind. Storms came without warning, and the strange crystals emitted bursts of radiation that could melt metal. Yet crops grew in the alien soil, energy flowed from the crystalline rivers, and the atmosphere adjusted subtly to human biology. But then came the first sign they weren't alone. During a night shift, a signal pulsed through the comms, a rhythmic tone, faint but deliberate. It wasn't random noise. It repeated, steady as a heartbeat. Rhea stormed into the command tent, her voice sharp. Who's transmitting? No one, the technician stammered. It's coming from underground. Amina's eyes widened. From below? The signal grew louder, resonating with the crystals around them. Lights flickered, equipment glowed. The ground itself began to vibrate like something deep beneath was waking. Then came a voice, not in words, but in feeling. A whisper that slid through every mind on the planet. Welcome, children of ruin. The lights flared white and every device went dead. Silence fell, thick and absolute. The only sound was the storm, whispering through the alien night. Elias stood in the dark, his breath heavy. What was that? Amina's voice trembled. Not a message. A memory. What do you mean? Rhea asked. Amina turned toward them, her eyes reflecting the faint glow of the crystal towers. This world isn't empty. It remembers those who came before. That night, Elias couldn't sleep. The stars above Erevos shimmered strangely like they were watching. He remembered Veer's words, the accusation that humanity's defiance would lead to chaos. Maybe they were right. Maybe chaos was exactly what would set them free. He stood outside the camp, looking at the strange towers pulsing faintly with light, as if listening. Welcome, children of ruin, he whispered. Then let's rebuild ruin into empire. Far away, deep beneath Erevos' crust, something answered with a single echoing pulse, like a heartbeat. The morning light over Erevos shimmered through the crystal towers like liquid fire. The human settlement, now named Haven 1, glowed with new life. But under the calm hum of progress, tension grew like a quiet storm. Captain Elias Ward stared at the holographic map of the planet's crust projected above the central table. It pulsed with hundreds of faint signals like veins of light running deep beneath the surface. "Every scan says the same thing," said Dr. Amina Sol, her eyes wide with both awe and unease. "There's an entire network down there. Structures, corridors, energy signatures. It's ancient, but it's..." Awake Admiral Rhea Kale crossed her arms. "We came here to survive, not to dig into graves we don't understand." Elias didn't look away from the projection. "That voice we heard wasn't just a warning. It was an invitation." Rhea frowned. "You don't invite yourself into something that can shut down every system we have with a thought." Amina leaned forward. "And yet whatever it is, it recognized us. That can't be coincidence. The crystals react to human biofields. They're connected." "We're connected." Silence filled the command tent. The faint hum of generators echoed beneath their breath. Then Elias said quietly, "If this world remembers the ones who came before, maybe they were like us. Maybe they fell like us." By evening, the exploration team was ready. The entry point was a massive crack between two towering crystals, half buried under ash and fog. The air shimmered with static, the ground pulsing with soft blue light. Elias, Rhea, and Amina led a small squad of engineers and scouts, equipped with exosuits and plasma cutters. As they descended into the fissure, the sound of their boots faded into hollow echoes. What waited below was beyond imagination. A vast cavern opened before them, walls of transparent crystal veined with rivers of light. Floating symbols danced through the air, patterns of geometry that shifted when stared at too long, and in the center stood a colossal structure, half buried in the stone. A spire of black metal, humming with the same rhythm as a heartbeat. Amina whispered, "It's not natural." Rhea's voice was low. "No, it's a construct, but not like any machine we know." Elias approached slowly, his breath misting in the charged air. The structure seemed to respond, its surface rippling like water touched by light. A voice spoke again. Not from the air, but from within their minds. "You carry their fire." "The forgotten flame?" Amina froze. "Did you hear it? You seek a home, yet your kind always builds empires from ashes." Rhea raised her weapon. "Show yourself!" The cavern's light flared. The air shimmered, and before them appeared a being of pure luminescence, humanoid but vast, its form ever-shifting like sunlight through water. "We are the architects, the first to rise and the first to fall." Elias stepped forward. "You built this world?" "We seeded many worlds, but our creations turned on us. The stars burned and silence became our only companion. Until you came," Amina's voice trembled. "Why us? Why call to humans?" The being's glow pulsed gently. "Because you carry what we lost. Defiance. The will to rise when the universe demands you kneel." Elias's jaw tightened. "The Council exiled us for that. Then they fear what they cannot control, as they once feared us." The light dimmed slightly, becoming softer, almost sorrowful. "This world remembers. It remembers our failure, and it offers you our legacy. But beware, creation and destruction share the same root. You must choose what to become." Before anyone could respond, the cavern shook violently. Energy surged through the crystal walls and the being's form fragmented into shards of light. "Elias," Rhea shouted. "It's collapsing." They sprinted toward the fissure as shards of crystal rained around them, glowing with fire. Amina stumbled, but Elias caught her arm, pulling her through the rising dust. The rumble grew into a thunderous roar and then silence. They emerged into the open air as the fissure sealed behind them, glowing faintly before fading to black. Elias stood still, breathing hard, his face streaked with dust and awe. Rhea glared at him. "That's it. No more digging. Whatever's down there doesn't want us." But Amina shook her head. "You didn't hear it the way I did. It wasn't a warning. It was a passing of the torch." Elias turned toward the horizon where the twin suns sank beneath the crystalline plains. The light bathed their camp in gold and violet hues. "They gave us their legacy," he murmured. "We'll honor it. We'll build again, stronger, wiser." Rhea sighed, looking back at the sealed ground. "And if the Council finds out?" Elias's eyes burned like stars. Then they'll find we're not the same people they exiled. That night, as Haven 1 slept, the planet pulsed once more. Deep beneath the crust, the black spire flared alive again. In its light, shapes began to move, machines dormant for millennia, awakening to a new signal. The humans had not just found a world, they had awakened an inheritance. The twin sons of Erevos rose over, Haven 1 in brilliant silence. The settlement gleamed, shining domes, scaffolds, and antennae stretching like fingers toward the light. Yet beneath that fragile dawn, something ancient stirred in the planet's heart. Elias Ward stood atop a platform overlooking the newborn city. Below him, hundreds of humans moved in coordinated purpose, engineers building reactors, scientists cataloging alien flora, soldiers patrolling the ridges. Every person carried the same quiet fire in their eyes, the fire of the exiled. Amina Saul arrived beside him, her face lit by the glow of her datapad. Eli, you should see this. The resonance patterns from the crystals. They're syncing with our generators. Elias frowned. Explain. The planet's energy isn't just natural, it's adaptive. It's learning how our technology works. It's helping us. Elias's gaze drifted toward the horizon where a line of new construction shimmered. Then it wants to be alive again. Amina smiled faintly. Maybe it wants us to finish what the architects started. By midday, Haven 1 scientists discovered something impossible. The ruins beneath the surface had awakened completely. Energy was flowing upward through the crust, feeding into human systems. Machines that had been dormant since their crash landing now hummed like they'd been reborn. Rhea Kale was the first to voice the concern everyone felt. "This is too fast," she said, pacing in the command center. "We don't understand what it's giving us. For all we know, it's using us." Elias leaned against the table, watching holograms of the city's power grid stabilize. Or maybe it's trusting us. The architects built something meant to survive forever. Maybe they needed someone like us to wake it. Rhea shot him a sharp look. "You're starting to sound like a prophet." "Just a man who's tired of running," he said quietly. Amina's voice cut through. "Wait, look at this." She zoomed in on a sequence of data from the planetary core. It's sending encoded transmissions through the crystals. "A message," Rhea frowned. "Can you translate it?" Amina nodded slowly. "Partially. It says forge anew. Flesh and steel. Thought and flame." Elias straightened. "The iron rebirth. Over the following months, the planet and its people became one." The crystalline energy of Erevos fused seamlessly with human technology. Ships that had once limped through the void now soared effortlessly on hybrid drives powered by the planet's living pulse. Children were born beneath artificial auroras, their DNA subtly altered by the world's resonance. Stronger, quicker, more attuned to energy fields. Humanity wasn't just surviving exile. It was evolving, but not everyone welcomed the change. In the lower sectors of Haven 1, whispers spread among the workers, rumors of people hearing voices in their dreams, of machines that seemed to think for themselves, of the ground itself humming in strange patterns when no one was around. Some called it a blessing. Others called it a warning. Elias gathered his council one night beneath the great dome of the command hall. A hologram of Erevos glowed between them, veins of light pulsing across its surface. "We've made more progress in 6 months than the council did in 6 centuries, Elias began. "But this planet, this power, it's changing us. The question is, into what?" Rhea's eyes were cold and sharp. "Into something the council will never be able to touch." Amina hesitated. "Or something not quite human anymore." Silence followed. The hum of the power conduits filled the air, deep and steady like the heartbeat of some sleeping god. Elias finally spoke, his voice low. "Then maybe humanity isn't what we were born as. Maybe it's what we choose to become." Later that night, Elias walked alone through the lower tunnels, the ones closest to the ancient ruins. The walls glowed softly, their crystal veins alive with quiet light. He paused when he heard it, a faint whisper. Not words, just a feeling, carried through the air like a thought brushed against his skin. He followed it deeper until he reached a chamber filled with ancient machinery, now pulsing gently. In the center stood a massive frame of black metal, humanoid in shape with a chest that glowed like molten light. Amina's words echoed in his mind. "Forge anew, flesh and steel, thought and flame." He reached out and touched the frame. The metal was warm. The moment his fingers brushed it, energy surged through him. Visions of stars being born, civilizations rising and falling. The architect standing at the dawn of creation. A voice filled his mind again. "Rise, inheritor. The forge is yours." Elias gasped and stumbled back, his heart racing. The chamber brightened, machinery awakening around him. He didn't understand it all, but he knew what it meant. The architects hadn't left behind ruins. They'd left behind a seed, a machine that could merge living will with creation itself. Humanity's exile was no longer punishment. It was preparation. When Elias returned to the surface, dawn was breaking again. Amina stood waiting, eyes full of questions. He looked at her, his expression unreadable but resolute. "Get everyone ready. We're not rebuilding the past anymore," she frowned. "Then what are we doing?" He gazed toward the sunrise, where the towers of Haven 1 shimmered like spears of light. "We're building an empire that even the stars will bow to." Far beyond Erevos, deep in council space, a transmission pulsed through the void. An automated probe had found traces of human activity in restricted regions. The council's attention had returned, and this time, humanity would be ready. The message arrived as static first, just a trembling pulse of noise against the hum of Erevos's night. Then through the interference came a voice, cold, familiar. "To all human outposts, this is the Galactic Council Enforcement Fleet. You are in violation of Treaty Article 1. You will surrender your colonies and stand down." It repeated 3 times, each iteration sharper, clearer, angrier. By dawn, the sky over Haven 1 was burning with streaks of light, council drones, thousands of them, like silver locusts descending through the violet clouds. Captain Elias Ward stood in the command dome surrounded by officers. The holographic table showed the planet's defense grid flickering under the strain. "They found us," Rhea said grimly. Her jaw tightened as red blips multiplied across the projection. 72 ships in orbit. Mostly drones, but their capital vessel is broadcasting the Council's crest. Elias's eyes were calm, but there was steel in them. "Chancellor Veer wouldn't send drones for diplomacy. This is judgment." Amina entered, her face pale. "They're broadcasting an ultimatum. Total surrender or planetary quarantine. They're calling Erevos a biological threat," Rhea scoffed. "Biological threat? They're afraid of what we've built." Elias's voice was quiet but sharp. "They should be." Outside, the settlers gathered under the shimmering auroras that marked the planet's magnetic storms. Children clutched their parents' hands as the sky filled with thunder. The people of Erevos had known hardship, but now they faced the wrath of a galaxy that had already cast them out. Elias stood before the crowd on a raised platform. His voice amplified through the open air. "They call us dangerous, unpredictable, but remember, when they exiled us, they expected us to fade into the dark." His gaze swept over thousands of faces, eyes filled with the same defiance he carried in his blood. "Instead, we built something greater than they could imagine. We forged life out of ruin. We've earned our place among the stars." The crowd roared, their voices echoing like thunder through the crystal plains. He raised a hand, the noise softening into expectant silence. "Today they come to erase us. But they will learn what every tyrant in history learns. Humans don't surrender." Up in orbit, the Council's flagship Serenity of Order loomed like a silver moon. Chancellor Veer watched the planet below through 6 unblinking eyes. His voice was calm, almost regretful. "Begin atmospheric suppression." The ship's underside opened, revealing vast emitter arrays. A pulse of white energy surged downward, an electromagnetic wave designed to disable every circuit, every system, every defense, but Erevos did not yield. Instead, the wave hit the planet's surface and bounced back. The energy was absorbed, redirected, and amplified through the crystalline veins beneath the crust. The storm above the city flared with golden light, and a shock wave rippled outward, knocking Council drones from the sky like falling stars. Veer's tendrils twitched. "Impossible." In the heart of Haven 1, Amina shouted over the chaos. "The planet's responding! It's defending us!" Rhea barked orders, directing ships to launch. "Then let's give it something worth fighting for." Human warships rose through the golden clouds, new vessels forged from Erevos' materials, sleek and alive, their hulls pulsing faintly like they were breathing. The flagship Dauntless led the charge, its engines roaring with a resonance that made the air tremble. The first volley struck true, Council drones shattered like glass under hybrid plasma bolts. Human ships moved in perfect coordination, guided by both pilots and the planet's energy field. It wasn't just technology, it was symbiosis. Elias watched from the bridge as a Council cruiser broke formation. "Rhea, cut their flank." "Already on it," she replied, her fingers dancing over the controls. The Dauntless banked hard, weaving through debris, then unleashed a surge of light that split the enemy's shield in two. The comms flared open. Chancellor Ver's voice filled the air, distorted but furious. "Elias Ward, you are defying the will of the Council. Stand down before you doom your people." Elias stared into the holographic image of Vir, eyes burning with cold resolve. "You exiled us because we wouldn't kneel. You call that peace. I call it fear." "Humanity does not understand balance," Vir hissed. "You destroy what you touch." Elias leaned forward. "No, we remake it." He cut the channel. Outside, the battle turned. The Dauntless dove through the storm, its hull glowing with energy channeled from Erevos' core. Every blast it fired carried not just plasma, but purpose. Rhea grinned through the haze of fire. "They're retreating." Elias didn't smile. "No, they're regrouping." Above them, the flagship Serenity of Order shifted, its central core glowing bright as a miniature sun. Amina gasped. "They're charging a planet killer. If they fire that, Erevos is gone." Elias's jaw clenched. "Then we stop them here." He looked toward the planet below, feeling the pulse through the hull, the living heartbeat of Erevos. "You hear me, don't you?" he whispered. "We need your strength." The ship's systems flared to life. Power surged beyond human limits. The Dauntless rose like a comet of living light, its cannons blazing gold. The final blast struck the Council's weapon mid-charge. The explosion was silent, beautiful, terrible. Light bloomed across the void like a new dawn. Hours later, the skies of Erevos were calm again. Wreckage drifted in orbit, glittering faintly in the starlight. Amina turned to Elias, her voice soft. "We won." Elias shook his head. "No, we survived. The Council won't stop here. They've seen what we've become." Rhea joined them, her gaze hard. "Then they'll come again." Elias looked out over the horizon where the twin suns burned through the clouds like eyes of destiny. "Good," he said quietly. "Let them come. The exiles of Earth have an empire now, and it's ready." Beneath his feet, the ground pulsed once more, the voice of the planet whispering in the depths. The iron rebirth has begun. The war was over, but peace did not come. Above Erevos, the wreckage of the Council fleet drifted like a ring of ghosts. Ships torn apart by energy unknown to galactic science glimmered faintly in orbit, a silent warning to any who dared follow. From those ashes, humanity began to build. Elias Ward stood at the balcony of the Citadel, the towering heart of Haven 1. Below him stretched a new kind of civilization, shimmering towers alive with light, streets powered by the living energy of Erevos, and skyways where hybrid ships glided like silver birds. Children played beside crystalline gardens that hummed softly to their laughter. Farmers grew crops that needed no soil. Engineers forged machines that healed themselves. Humanity had become something no longer bound by its past and yet still haunted by it. Rhea Kale approached from behind, her black uniform reflecting the golden dawn. "We've begun the expansion program," she said. 3 colony ships already launched. Erevos is just the beginning. Elias nodded. "And the Council?" "Retreated beyond the outer line. No transmissions, no fleets, but they're watching." Amina entered the chamber quietly, datapad in hand. "They're not the only ones," she said. "We've been detecting signals from other abandoned worlds. They're responding to Erevos' pulse." Elias turned, intrigued. "Responding how?" "They're waking up, like this planet did." A long silence followed. The hum of the Citadel deepened, as if the world itself were listening. Rhea crossed her arms. "You think the architects seeded multiple worlds?" Amina nodded. "Hundreds, maybe thousands. Each one sleeping, waiting for something with human resonance to awaken them." Elias exhaled slowly, the realization washing through him like cold fire. "We're not just rebuilding. We're reactivating an entire forgotten network." Within months, the Dauntless led expeditions to nearby systems. They found ruins filled with the same crystalline architecture, the same energy signatures. Some worlds were dead. Others stirred faintly when humans, stepped upon them. Each colony became a node of the growing Erevan Empire named after their new home, but power always comes with shadows. Rhea saw at first the subtle shifts in the people. Those born on Erevos were faster, stronger, more attuned to the world's pulse. They moved differently, thought differently. Some could interface with machines through touch alone. Others dreamed of places they'd never seen, distant worlds calling through the void. Evolution, Amina said one night, studying genetic scans. The planet's resonance is rewriting us. Into what? Rhea asked. Amina hesitated. Into something more or less, depending on your faith in what it means to be human. Despite the uncertainty, progress continued. Outposts flourished. Hybrid technology transformed ordinary tools into living systems. Human ships now navigated by instinct, guided by symbiotic cores grown from Erevos' crystals. And yet, far in council space, fear festered. Whispers spread through the galaxy of the Exiled Empire, a species once scorned now ascending beyond comprehension. Some called them saviors of forgotten worlds, others, the heirs of the architects, and the harbingers of a second galactic fall. The council assembled in secret, their delegates speaking in hushed tones. They defy the laws of creation. One rasped. Their ships move faster than physics allows. They heal worlds that should be dead. They command life itself. Chancellor Veer's voice cut through the panic. Then we will remind them of their place. Back on Erevos, Elias walked alone through the growing city as night descended. Above him, auroras painted the sky, streams of gold and violet dancing like rivers of light. The air itself seemed alive. He paused at the base of the ancient spire, the black monument that had once whispered to him in the dark. It now served as the core of the citadel, its light steady, its hum deep. You said we'd have to choose, Elias murmured to the unseen architects. Creation or destruction? Maybe we can be both. He looked down as Amina joined him, her face soft under the glow. You've changed, Eli, we all have. He smiled faintly. Change is the only constant we've ever trusted. Amina studied the spire. Do you ever wonder if this was their plan all along? That the architects needed someone reckless enough to finish what they couldn't? Elias's gaze lingered on the stars. Maybe. Or maybe we're the universe's mistake that refused to die. An alarm shattered the quiet. The night sky flared red as a transmission cut through the comms. Strong, clear, and unmistakably alien. This is the Galactic Council. You have violated your exile and expanded into sovereign systems. This act constitutes war. Rhea's voice crackled through the comm. They're massing fleets across the frontier. Hundreds of ships. Elias's expression hardened. How long until they arrive? 3 days. He turned toward the spire, its light reflecting in his eyes like a second sunrise. Then we have 3 days to remind the galaxy why it feared us. Amina looked at him, half in awe, half in fear. Eli, if we fight them again, there might not be anything left to rebuild. He met her gaze. Then we build something new from the ashes. The ground beneath them pulsed with light, and far across the stars, other worlds, dormant architect planets, began to awaken in response. The humans of Erevos had become more than survivors. They were becoming something the galaxy had never seen before, something it could no longer control. The void beyond Erevos shimmered with an unnatural light. Hundreds of council warships had assembled at the edge of the system, a tidal wave of metal and order, poised to crush the exiled humans once and for all. But Haven 1 did not tremble. Its towers gleamed with living crystal energy. Ships, pulsating with the heartbeat of the planet itself, rose in formation like a storm of light. Humanity's exiled fleet, reborn and augmented, waited silently, calm and confident. Captain Elias Ward stood on the bridge of the Dauntless, his eyes fixed on the horizon where the council fleet loomed like a wall of judgment. His hand hovered over the controls, but the real power lay beneath their feet, in the living planet that had chosen them as its inheritors. 3 days. Rhea Kale muttered beside him, her tone measured. And then the council comes for us. Are we ready? Elias's gaze swept over the horizon, over the crystalline towers, over the thousands of people living, building, thriving against the odds. They think they can impose fear, he said softly. They think exile is the end. But this, he gestured at Erevos, pulsing with life, at the ships that hummed with power, at the people who had embraced the unknown. "This is the beginning." Amina's soul approached, her eyes reflecting both worry and awe. "Eli, we've seen the other worlds responding. The Architect Network, they're waking too. We're not alone anymore." He nodded, understanding the weight of her words. "Good. Let the galaxy see what happens when humanity is pushed to the edge. We don't just survive. We rise." As the Council fleet advanced, their war horns and communication signals blaring through the void, the humans launched a maneuver unlike anything ever seen in the galaxy. Ships surged forward, moving not by navigation alone but guided by Erevos itself. Energy from the planet flowed into the hulls, the engines, the weapons. Plasma beams and energy pulses weren't just fired, they were woven, each strike amplified by the resonance of life itself. The Council tried to respond with overwhelming firepower, but every attack was absorbed, redirected, or deflected by the living energy of Erevos. Ships faltered, weapons overheated, and shields failed. What was meant to crush humanity instead fell apart under the coordinated symphony of a people and planet in perfect union. Elias's voice cut over the comms, calm but commanding. "Focus on the command vessels. Hit them with everything. Let them see humanity is no longer a subject, they are the subjects now." In orbit, Chancellor Veer watched in disbelief. His flagship Serenity of Order was pummeled not just by human technology, but by something organic, intelligent, and alive. "How is this possible?" he demanded, his 6 eyes darting over the fleet projections. "Humans are not meant to control worlds like this." A subordinate whispered, trembling. "It's not them alone, sir. The planets. They respond to them." Veer's tendrils tightened. "Then we are witnessing a new power. Prepare the Council for retreat, and for diplomacy if it survives." But diplomacy was no longer an option. Humanity had reclaimed its voice, and its fury had been tempered with purpose. On Erevos, the twin suns rose, casting golden and violet light across the crystalline plains. Haven 1 stood undefeated, alive, vibrant, a city of fire and light. Elias stepped onto the highest balcony, overlooking his people. Soldiers, engineers, children, scientists, all of them exiles once, now architects of a living empire. He felt the pulse beneath his feet, the heartbeat of Erevos, and with it the heartbeat of humanity itself. Rhea joined him, her gaze steady. "They'll try again. The Council won't forgive this." He smiled faintly, eyes glinting with certainty. "Let them come. We've learned to survive the impossible, and now we know how to thrive." Amina came last, holding a small crystal shard still glowing faintly. "The architects, they gave us this, and we made it ours." Elias reached out, touching the shard. The energy surged through him, alive, ancient, and powerful. "Then we'll take it to every corner of the galaxy. Not as slaves, not as victims, but as humans who refuse to kneel." The ground pulsed beneath them, responding to his words. And in that heartbeat, the first true empire of exiles was born. Above, the stars shimmered differently now, alive with possibility, responding to the rise of something new. Humanity had been exiled, but they had turned exile into empire. And the galaxy would never forget the name of those who had dared to rise from the ashes. The last echoes of the Council faded into history. The first dawn of humanity's empire blazed across the void. The exiled had become the inheritors. The stars had a new master,